First and foremost, congratulations on becoming the proud owner of a Kloxdolly. Owning and caring for a Kloxdolly can be lots and lots of fun. Remember that Kloxdollies love to play together, so be sure to form a guild with your friends so your Kloxdolly can socialize just like real Kloxvolk do. Your Kloxdolly came with nearly a dozen authentic accessories. This guide will familiarize you with their exotic attire and gewgaws, making your Kloxdolly look so real, we wouldn't be surprised if a group of visiting Kloxvolk thought you were abducting their baby. Let's get started. Whether you have a Kloxman or a Kloxwoman, you'll start out dressing them the same. The plain shift, or underdress, goes on first. Start by putting your Kloxdolly's head into the largest hole and pull the garment down over your Kloxdolly's body. Your Kloxdolly's arms go through the small holes. Next, pull on your Kloxdolly's dress. First of all, don't be surprised if your Kloxdolly's dress looks a little different from other Kloxdolly dresses. Kloxvolk keep really careful track of just who is related to who, and one way they do that is to dress up their extended family, or clan, in its own special colors and patterns. Even inside each clan's pattern, families make little changes so they can tell just how closely related they are. You put the dress on just the same way you put on the shift. Here's the crazy part. With the dress on properly, you can't even see your Kloxdolly's shift. Real Kloxvolk have told us that even though the shift is super important, they think it's really embarrassing for anyone to see or even talk about it. If your Kloxdolly dress has a deep-cut neck hole, you'll need to pull the little drawstrings to cinch it up tight in order to make sure nobody can see that naughty shift. Once you've admired your Kloxdolly's dress and made super sure the shift is totally hidden, it's time to put on their belt. The belt is that long, thin piece of leather with a metal buckle on it. Follow the diagram carefully to learn how to fasten and unfasten the belt. Kloxmen have big, wide belts. Kloxwomen have narrow, thin belts. You'll notice that the belts are just as colorful as the dresses. That's because the pattern on the belt tells you something about your Kloxdolly too. Every guild has its own special belt color and pattern. Look at the enclosed chart of guild patterns to learn which guild your Kloxdolly is a member of. It's okay to pretend that your Kloxdolly is a member of a different guild if you want to, but if you are the sort of doll owner who really strives for authenticity, we are proud to offer Kloxdolly guild belts separately. If you want, your Kloxdolly could change guilds every day of the week. Now you can slip on your Kloxdolly socks. They slide right over your Kloxdolly's feet, and each one can be pulled tight up your Kloxdolly's leg. Don't worry too much if some of the fabric gets baggy at the bottom. That's completely normal. Besides, your Kloxdolly's boots will hide most of each sock anyway. We mentioned boots, and that's what's next. If there's one thing Kloxvolk agree on, it's that they don't much care about what their feet look like. That's why Kloxmen and Kloxwomen alike wear big, chunky boots practically all the time. They wear them inside. They wear them when they eat. Sometimes they even wear them when they sleep. About the only time your Kloxdolly's boots come off is bath time, and they don't have too many of those. We've included Kloxtout for every Kloxdolly, boy or girl, even though real Kloxwomen hardly ever wear them. Slip your Kloxdolly's arms through the armholes and pull each Kloxtout up over the sleeve of your Kloxdolly's dress. They should fit snugly over your Kloxdolly's shoulders with the spikes pointing pretty much straight up in the air. Every set of Kloxtout is different. Real Kloxmen buy the most expensive Kloxtout they can afford. Sometimes they spend more than they can afford. Kloxtout can be made of wood, but every Kloxman dreams of metal Kloxtout. Some really rich Kloxmen have Kloxtout made of silver. We are proud to offer a wide variety of Kloxdolly Kloxtout separately. Whenever your Kloxdolly goes out in the snowy Kloxic Mountains, he or she will need their gloves. Most Kloxdollies have short gloves that barely cover their hands. If you've bought one of our limited edition Kloxman Hawker or Kloxwomen Houndmistress models, then you'll have extra long gloves that cover your Kloxdolly's arms up to the elbow. Each Kloxdolly comes with at least 3 weapons. Most weapons can be hung on the belt loops. Check the diagrams for instructions on how to hang a scabbard or axe sling. Kloxfolk don't go anywhere without a knife and their special battle axe. If your Kloxdolly is going to a special event or to war, you should load him or her up with all the weapons you've got. It's not unusual to see a Kloxman or Kloxwoman walking around with 2 knives, 2 throwing axes, a sword, a short bow, and a quiver full of arrows, and their special battle axe. Every Kloxman and Kloxwoman makes a special battle axe for themselves. Some axes are big and broad and heavy, while some are more like spikes on sticks. Kloxfolk don't like to talk about it, but we've gotten a few of them drunk and found out that the wood comes from special trees. Kloxfolk really love trees a lot, even though they cut a lot of them down, and it's hard to get them to talk about these special trees. We thought about torturing the information out of a Kloxman or Kloxwoman, but we decided it was more exciting to keep the mystery alive. Maybe you and your friends can use your imagination and decide what's so special about the battle axe wood and how the axes get made. Who knows? You might just solve the mystery. We've included small loops to hold your Kloxdolly's hair. You can try all kinds of hairstyles with these loops. Put all their hair to one side. Part your Kloxdolly's hair down the middle and loop it together on each side. Pull all the hair up and put the loop right up on top of your Kloxdolly's head. You can also use these loops to pull together the beard on boy Kloxdollies. Your Kloxdolly blanket is not just for when your Kloxdolly wants to go to sleep. Wrap it around your Kloxdolly if he or she is going out in the winter. Kloxfolk have hardly any fur, and they get cold in the winter. Finally, if your Kloxdolly needs to go to war, you'll want to pop the helmet right on top of his or her head. Most Kloxdolly helmets are simple metal hats. If you've gotten a Warrior Guild Kloxdolly, then you'll have one of a dozen different special helmet styles. Some Warrior Guild helmets have pieces to cover their ears, some have pieces to cover their eyes, and some have nose protection. Some look really scary, and a few have neck guards made out of lots of little metal rings all linked together. Kloxdolly helmets are not currently sold separately. Look for them next totem gathering. You've done it! Your Kloxdolly should be all dolled up and ready to go. Congratulations again on becoming a Kloxdolly owner. We know you'll treat them with all the love and respect they deserve. Have fun!